Howdy and welcome. I'm Mike, your board gaming every dude, and I am here to convince you to not buy Unsettled for solo mode. Hear me out, hear me out. Okay, first of all, let's address the reality. This is a completely invalid review and recommendation because this is a game on the box that says 2 to 4 players, and they got it right. Second of all of the praise and the hype that, well, I don't know about the hype, but all of the praise that I'm hearing for this game, I completely agree with. Also, I would like to establish I have played through 11 times. So I've played through 4 planets, all but one of the scenarios. Grakkis, Scenario 3, my brain was a little burned out, so I didn't play that one. So I have thoroughly played the game. I very much enjoy this game. I very much recommend this game if you've got a buddy to play it with. So first of all, how does the game play? Quickly, Unsettled, it kind of reminds me of Star Trek, only I'd like to see a little more Star Trek in it. But you are lost in space and you go onto a planet in order to get resources, or you crash land and you're on this alien planet exploring, trying to complete a mission in order to get back to your spaceship and survive. You have to work with 2 player boards. So normally that's where the 2 to 4 player comes in. And this game is designed so that both players, if you're 2 to 4 players, so that all players are engaged throughout the game in some way. And that player 1 takes a turn, but while player 1 is taking their turn, player 2, 3, and 4 can use any of their anytime abilities to assist player 1. Alright, so you're all working together and you're all engaged. This game also fosters creativity. You can come up with some really creative solutions, as there are so many different benefits that you can find, sometimes even negative effects, like when you're on the very first planet. Well, it's recommended as the first planet, and rightly so, Wenora. There is something called fungal host, which should be a negative. However, it also can work to your advantage if you get creative with it. You may not win, actually, if you don't use the fungal host property. So creativity, man, it's here. But here's the thing. Each planet, so right now I just have 4 planets, but you can look on Kickstarter. There are many other planets, each with their own unique theme and mechanics. I think the one with Luna, where Luna goes berserk, your friendly little robot that helps you, she goes crazy pants and tries to kill you. I think that looks like a lot of fun. But here's the thing. Each planet comes with 3 scenarios, and each visit basically is its own isolated scenario. So this is not a campaign. So you are going onto the planet, doing scenario A out of A, B, C. You're doing scenario A, and when you complete scenario A, you leave that planet, and that's it. That's it. That's the end of that game. So if you ever come back and do scenario B, you're just imagining you're a different crew, different situation, and same if you go to a different planet. Now, I tried to make a campaignish feel for myself in that I did scenario A, Wenora, and they got off. So then we went to scenario A on the planet Grakkis, and they survived and got off. And then we went to scenario A on Yendraal, the water. Yeah, the water planet. That's my favorite one. So I sort of made my own kind of travel thing by going through scenario A in order of difficulty for the planets. I believe that was the right. Yeah, because Zehron was the most complicated. But for solo mode, that actually made it a little more enjoyable. But I gotta say, since you're playing solo and you're controlling these 2 player boards, which is normal for a fully cooperative game, generally you control 2 player boards, and that can be challenging, but you make it work. And with this game, since you have 2 player boards and you have abilities that can be used by either player at any time or by your robot Luna, that adds more interactivity, and it can make it a little harder to manage solo, but it is completely manageable. However, here is why I think the publishers were correct to not list this as a 1 to 4 player, but rather as 2 to 4, and why I wouldn't recommend you buying this only for solo. Just like Detective City of Angels, I love that game so much, and I bought it for solo only, but I would never recommend you buy it only for solo. Enjoy the solo as long as you buy it to play with others. But here's the thing. This game is built on creativity and interactivity with another human. If you're missing that, I think you're missing some of the joy of the game. So if you have a buddy and watch playthroughs of people doing solo versus playing with a buddy, and some love it solo. There are some great reviews, people playing through and they're very happy with it. But I think that you are missing out on the game's intent and some very clearly designed mechanics that encourage you to interact creatively with your friends. When you're making these interactive, creative decisions just with yourself, it's still really cool. It's a fantastic game, but you're missing out, and I know it. So, the other thing is, for this to be a solo game, I personally feel it would need to have a campaign mode. Because as it is, when you play through once, and then each visit to each planet and each campaign, each scenario is a standalone thing. When you play it solo, it feels like you're missing something. Like, wait a minute, everything is here. The basis is here for a campaign. This is Star Trek, and it's Star Trek Voyager. You're lost way out in space, and you're trying to make your way home. So it feels like each visit to a planet, well, there should be a teeny tiny bit of story that then connects you to the next visit to the next planet. And that's all you would need is a campaign for one visit to each planet, and maybe you can do it in different ways based on scenarios. But with that not being there, playing solo, it ends up feeling disjointed and unsettling. But if you're playing with a buddy, well, it was just a great, interactive, creative, fun, challenging experience, and you have a great memory and lots of laughter, hopefully, with your friends. Having said all that, if you are determined to play Unsettled only for solo mode, here's the rundown. I've got an 80-second video, actually. I'll put it right there. And also the link will be in the description and probably at the end of the video. But some cool features, of course. The box shape is odd. It is, but it's beautiful. I get it. And I think I understand why it's that shape, because it forces you to keep it upright because of the cool packing system, which lets you basically keep most of the components in place on the trays. So you pull the trays out. It's a game tray system. Lay them on the table, and then you're almost ready to go. You aren't entirely ready to go. So here's 3 different trays. Put those out. There's another tray, and you can see they're very well designed. Very cool. And then, of course, after you lay those out, the only setup time involves your planets. So you've got Wenora, which is the recommended beginner planet. This is a planet of fungus, and you go onto this fungus planet to try to figure out how you can use this fungus to help you survive and get back to your ship and leave, hopefully, with some benefits. Beautiful planet. After that, you've got Grakkis. And Grakkis is cool because even though it's a desert planet, well, no, it's not a desert planet. It's more like going to the southeast United States, maybe. You know, there's lots of canyons and mountains, but there's a storm effect where you're either in the storm or not in the storm. And sometimes being in the storm is actually to your benefit. Most of the time, it's a detriment. You try to avoid it, but you got to come in and out of the storm, sometimes willingly, unwillingly. And there's also a behemoth, which is pretty cool. I enjoyed the behemoth encounter. I won't spoil anything on that. Each of these has 3 scenarios. Then, that's what comes with the base game. Then there is Yendraal, the water planet. This was my favorite because it introduces a flooding mechanic where there are floods that bring in materials and wash away materials. And as the floods move around, you're either badly affected by the flood or it's helpful because, you know, you don't drown. But you're actually trying to kind of save the planet. It's a little emotional, that one. And then there is, of course, Zehron, which will just melt your brain. This is a level 4 difficulty. The previous Yendraal was level 3. Grakkis was level 2. Wenora is level 1. But this one here, Zehron, you have landed on basically an entire civilization that is gone, but they left a library behind, and it's encased in different crystals that you collect as you go around. At some point, you end up losing your consciousness, gets separated from your body, and you have to reconnect them. It gets crazy pants, and it is... it's not lying. It's a challenge. I did not successfully survive any of the 3 campaigns. This wasn't a favorite one, but again, to be fair, it's supposed to be very challenging, so I am not saying that it was not designed well. I'm actually thanking the publisher for acknowledging that this was not designed for solo play, even though it can be played solo and can be enjoyed by some. For me, it was lacking, and I would play this with others. Since I won't likely be playing with others, I will probably sell it along to someone who can do that and can really enjoy it. But I'm so thankful to have played it. What a beautiful game. If they ever make a solo mode or a campaign and they're able to put that 1 to 4 player label, I think I will be jumping right on board with that. That's it. Enjoy this next video, Unsettled in 80 seconds. Also, be sure to check out my mashup of Rococo and Unsettled. It gets particularly nuts. I love you all. See you next time.